Welcome to Melbourne, where qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix should be getting underway shortly. Looking at this field today, Ants, do you think we're going to see anyone take a chance, maybe run the harder of the available compounds and save some of the grippy tyres for the race tomorrow?
Well, I'd be surprised in all honesty. It's only the front runners that really have the pace to get away with that, and even then, at the end of the day, it's a big risk. Track position is the most important thing, and it's rarely worth sacrificing for a slightly more optimal strategy in the race, so I doubt we're going to see anyone trying it. I have been wrong before though. We certainly do see some risky decisions every now and then, and it's a gamble that's sometimes worth taking. But if it were me in the car, I would want to be on the fastest tyre for my qualifying lap, without a doubt.
The grid is all set then for the race tomorrow. But before we go, let's quickly remind ourselves of our top three, who are Chapman, Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. The grid is set then.
Well done. Very solid results. You're looking good for the race.
New drivers, new cars and a new Formula One season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that hosts the first round of a 21-race championship, taking us from here in Melbourne, Australia, across the globe before we eventually reach the season finale at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. We have plenty of changes to the sport this year with the addition of new safety features, the return of France and Germany in an expanded 21-race calendar, and more tyre compounds than ever before. And of course, we have some big car manufacturers back in the sport too, with Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin returning as title sponsors for Sauber and Red Bull respectively. Joining me to take you through all the action of the 2018 Formula One season is Anthony Davidson. Great to have you with us.
Thanks, Crofty. Always happy to be here. I'm looking forward to getting underway. Last year was Mercedes' fourth Constructors' title in a row, although for the first half of the season, it was absolutely neck and neck with the Ferraris. Hopefully this year we can see the chasing pack take that final step, as I'd love to see a championship contest all the way up to the final race in Abu Dhabi. Another story to keep an eye on is the relative performance of McLaren and Toro Rosso, who have exchanged power unit suppliers this year. And given the additional restrictions on engine components, they need to be strong in terms of both performance and reliability.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Chapman lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo and Alonso, Hülkenberg, Verstappen, Magnussen and Carlos Sainz, Perez, Van Dorn, Romain Grosjean and Leclerc, Gasly, Ocon, Brendan Hartley and Marcus Ericsson, Sirotkin and Lance Stroll rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. A great win then for the Maranello team today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Well, I think the track conditions just really suited their car today. Wind, track temperature, you name it. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature. So the more easily you can keep them there, the better your race tends to go. And that's exactly what happened. Their car just looks so comfortable out there.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the Drivers' Table. Chapman takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. And now I'd like to ask you, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Look at where Romain Grosjean finished compared to where he started. That's a really strong performance, so driver of the day has to go to him, I think.
On to the constructors then. Ferrari moved to the top of the table. After all that excitement, it's time for a lie down, I think. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye until the next race. The cars are ready, the drivers are ready. We hope you're ready as qualifying is about to begin here in Bahrain. When it comes to getting lap time out of this circuit, it's traditionally been about maximising top speed. Do you simply remove as much downforce as possible, hang on into the corners and max out down the straights?
Top speed is a key factor for this circuit. Even if you can achieve the same lap time as someone running less wing than you, chances are you'll find overtaking difficult if you have too much drag.
As we wind down from the excitement of qualifying, here's a look at your top three. Chapman, Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. It's time to leave for now, but we'll be back tomorrow when the Grand Prix itself gets underway.
All right, I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
There's something in the Bahrain air tonight, and I'm not just talking about the sand. Our brightest minds have thrust their brightest ideas into the spotlight of the Sakhir circuit this evening as we look ahead once more to a Grand Prix that has thrilled us so consistently in the past. There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1, of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's talk about Chapman. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Chapman lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo, and Grosjean, Hülkenberg, Alonso, Magnussen, and Pierre Gasly. Sainz, Ocon, Sergio Perez, and Hartley, Van Dorn, Verstappen. They've taken a grid penalty. Charles Leclerc and Lance Stroll, Ericsson, and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. Here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Fermé. What a fantastic race it was. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Well, I think the track conditions just really suited their car today. Wind, track temperature, you name it. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature. So the more easily you can keep them there, the better your race tends to go. And that's exactly what happened. Their car just looks so comfortable out there.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. Chapman increases their championship lead. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
I'm going for some...
We'd like to welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China. I want to talk briefly about the strategy in these qualifying sessions. Anthony Davidson, how can a driver adjust their approach to gain those critical extra tenths of a second?
Well, qualifying isn't about adjusting your approach necessarily. It's more about trying to repeat a low fuel run that you've practiced prior to this session. You're looking for perfection on the lap, and that's hard to achieve if you're trying something new. There are some variables that can stand in your way, however. Track position or unexpected yellow flags, for example. Coupled with ever-changing track conditions, it's important to be out there at the right moment. But as a driver, you have to try and ignore these distractions and just keep your mind focused on that one perfect lap.
So qualifying is complete and we're all set for an exciting race tomorrow. Your top 3 are Chapman, Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Amazing performance out there. You must be really happy. It's always good to qualify at the front, isn't it? It's the start of the season. How do you think things are going to go for you? Appreciate your time.
Well done. That was a good qualifying performance.
Hard work, ingenuity and ambition. All things you'll find in abundance amongst the 15 million people of Shanghai over there to our southeast. And we've got plenty of that here on the grid as well. 20,000 horsepower, give or take, chomping at the bit to be unleashed for the Chinese Grand Prix. The ever-tightening turns 1 and 2 will prove tricky in the slippery conditions here at Shanghai, and anyone that slides wide will lose a lot of time getting back on track. Turn 14 should still be the best place for overtaking, but we'll have to see some improvement in the weather before the drivers can take advantage of that DRS assistance. We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Chapman lines up on pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and Vettel, Alonso, Hülkenberg, Sainz, and Roman Grosjean. Magnussen, Perez, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Gasly, Ocon, Hartley, Lance Stroll, and Charles Leclerc, Ericsson, and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Ferrari today. Tell me, Ant, what was the key to this success?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Chapman increases their championship lead. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
I'm going to say Brendan Hartley. It was probably one of his best drives this season, and I was thoroughly impressed.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Ferrari extend their lead at the top of the championship. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. It was great having you with us for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Until next time though, goodbye.